Cool. So Verdant, we're just waiting on an answer of proportionally which child is going to be hit the hardest? Lower income children or wealthy children?
Lower.
Great. And proportionally, in states like Arkansas, where Sarah Huckabee Sanders is championing these bills, which race is proportionately more poor?
The entire system hates us all. It's going to affect all the
Bro,
lower class the same.
bro, I love the deflection. It's like you are
And I like
dodging
the deflection that
better
you want to talk
than the
about race
Karate
instead of
Kid.
the actual age of the damn kids in the bill.
You are dodging better than the Karate Kid, my
We
dude.
already we already told you the age of the kids in the bill. Like you personally
Yes,
decided
and
to
you want
bring
to
up race.
talk about race.
Brought up
Actually talking
race.
about kids as a whole.
You brought up race.
Golly gee.
You brought up race, talking about minorities.
Minority. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Minorities includes race.
Yes, but not only race. You specifically
Not
talked
only
about
race,
race
but
and
I
then
know where
You
you
talking
want
hear?
to
about affirmative
go.
Wait,
action.
I'm sorry. Are you missing when I'm saying disproportionately? Are you missing that word? That word's very important when we talk about these. It's not
So if
saying
it's a
white
black and a
people,
white kid that are both poor, who's going to be affected by this bill?
they both will.
They
Disproportionately does not mean that one of them is not facing it. It's that black people will disproportionately feel these effects more than their white counterparts. That's what that means.
I don't think he knows what a lot of words mean. To be honest, I don't think he's going to get. I don't think he wants to. He keeps leading himself down a path to say racist things, and at this point, I feel like it's sea lining.
I literally just said the inner cities have high crime rates, which has black
I,
and white
I don't
people.
care.
That's not
We don't
just one
care.
race
Yes,
in the inner
great,
city.
because white
We
people
don't
commit
care.
more crime than black people. Yes, we know.
We're talking about racially coded language. Like you're using racially coded language, and at this point, you know this because we've explained this 3 times. At this point, I just think it's sea lining, and you're just trying to get out your racist rhetoric by pretending as if like you're actually
What
engaged
did I
in the
say that
topic.
was racist? What did I
We
say that
said
was
multiple
racist?
times the things that you talked about were racist. It's actually crazy.
You guys keep on saying I'm saying stuff that's racist,
Yes, because you are.
but you
So
guys don't
anyway,
give the example.
so anyway, I gave you 3 examples. Jovan gave you an example as well. So anyway, Mother of Dragon. What is your take on the things in the background?
I wanted to talk about the grape exceptions for, I'm going to assume that's for abortion.
Mhm.
Yes, in the state of Arkansas.
So are you just talking about the grape exception just in Arkansas and not any of the other states?
From what I do recall, yes, it's just in Arkansas.
Well, Texas doesn't
Um,
have
do,
one either.
yeah, there's a number of states that actually do have grape exceptions. So what's the contention with the grape exception?
No, there's no grape exception.
No, I'm saying what. So what's your contention, that you are for it or against it?
I'm pro-life. I'm pro-choice. Sorry, I said pro-life.
Hey,
I'm
yo.
pro-choice.
The Freudian slip.
So yeah, there's a I'm not one of those pro-lifers, but I know that there are
Okay.
pro-lifers that make the grape exception.
Okay.
So what is your stance on why a person should have be allowed to unalive their unborn child due to grape?
Due to grape, I don't. Well, I don't believe that anyone has any authority over any other else's body.
Right. So, but we know that the law itself protects
Mhm.
unborn human lives, right? So, and when I do
Depending on the
understand
law.
that there are some states, I do know that there are some states that do give that exception for whatever that position. If they've taken up that position, the state lawmakers have made the exception. However, these fall under the double homicide laws. There's about 38 states right now that preside over that have double homicide laws that
After a
give the
certain
carve
week.
out for, yeah, they give the carve out for abortion with exceptions. I think all states give the exception for medical, and then there's a couple of states that give the exception for rape. So just kind of wondering what your stance is on why should we make that exception, and why
Well,
you
wait,
think
really?
Republicans are the ones that actually made those exceptions.
Really quickly, I just want to point out that the double homicide law is by week. So it depends on the week. There are multiple instances, even in states with strict abortion laws, where prior to 24 weeks, they don't count it as a double homicide. They count it as it's like the illegal termination of a pregnancy. You don't get charged with a double homicide, but typically after 24
So that's
weeks,
actually
almost every
false.
state will. No,
No, in the state of Idaho, they give it to any stage of pregnancy.
Yeah, I mentioned in my preface that it was certain states.
Yeah,
But
that's
most
what
of them
I
have
think we can agree
most of them
on
have
that.
a week
Yeah,
range.
right. In most states, though, if you actually read the laws, most of them are any stage of life. There's a small number. It's about, I think it's like 15 out of those states actually give due to viability.
No, I've read them. They quite literally will charge you with a illegal termination of a pregnancy. Now,
As
some of
far
them have.
as, yeah, so I don't think we're disagreeing here. So I don't see what your contention is. We
I just
may
wanted to make
disagree
sure
on the
that
actual
was.
number, but the double homicide, like I said, there's 38 states that have the double homicide legislation. A number of those states give exceptions for medical. Some of them are, like in particular, Idaho. I like to point that one out because it actually says any stage of pregnancy. And then you have 29 states that the fetus alone has that federal protection. And then you also have under the Unborn Victims of Violence Act of 2004, which that's the first step in actually giving a fetus legal status.
Yeah, I'm just correcting that it's not every state that has these double homicide laws.
I never said it was every state. I think we agreed that it was some states, right?
It didn't seem like it, but if that's what you had said, then my
That's
apologies
okay.
for
Yeah, no, that's fine. We agree on that. It is some states. They're not all states, but some states do. So mainly focusing on the states that she's saying that Republicans made exceptions for grape, which is not an option. However, these laws have been on the books since Roe v. Wade was legal. It's been legal for over 50 years. So, and there are several states that do make that exception. So I'm just kind of wondering why we're saying that Republicans made the exceptions when over the years, a few of these states have been run by Democrats as well. And these were written into their constitution.
Well, wait, no, she's saying that Republicans removed the. She's saying the Republicans removed the exception.
In what states? Just Arkansas? That's it.
So states like Texas. Texas had a ban that excluded rape and incest, and then they added
due to the trigger laws, right? But she did say Arkansas, so that's why I was kind of pointing to. I asked her the question. So that's kind of what I was wondering. Are we saying that Republicans made exceptions for grape? However, these laws have been on the books while Roe v. Wade was legal.
Well, they were trigger laws.
Right,
so
but legal abortion, right, but abortion was legal in all 50 states, right? So we made, under the double homicide legislation, that's the only time that we made exceptions for abortion due to grape under those laws.
Huh?
So
what are you talking
about? There were, like I said, there were several states that listed that. So I'm just wondering.
Wait, prior to Roe v. Wade being overturned, abortion was legal.
It was illegal, right? It was illegal. It was illegal.
Abortion was illegal prior to Roe v. Wade being overturned?
In all 50 states, abortion was illegal, correct.
Prior to Roe v. Wade being overturned?
Correct.
How do you figure abortion was illegal?
Not true.
All 50 states, it was illegal, yes.
What are you talking about?
That's why it became legal. That's why the reason why Roe v. Wade made it, what?
Wait, are you saying prior to the Roe v. Wade being overturned?
Prior to Roe v. Wade in 1973, in all 50 states, abortion was illegal.
I'm saying being overturned.
No, I'm not talking about it being overturned. I'm saying prior to Roe v. Wade, which was in 1973, abortion was illegal. So those laws existed. Those laws existed for those exceptions prior to 1973. So I'm just wondering where she's coming from with saying that Republicans made the exception for grape when these laws were already in effect for a very, very long time.
She's saying that Republicans are not making an exception for grape. It's worded kind of weird up there, but we're trying to explain to you.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to understand.
Wait, this is not. This is also not true. Most trigger laws were enacted 2006 and forward. So I can give you the exact
No,
dates.
Texas's
So,
trigger
okay,
law was in Texas trigger law has been on the books since 1873.
no, they didn't enact. They enacted a new trigger law in 2019, which would go into
Sure.
effect 30 days after Roe v. Wade was overturned. So this was a new trigger law that they put in on the books. They
Right.
didn't use the old
Right.
trigger law.
So
They made
that's
a
when
new
I'm
one.
at. Okay. So that's why I'm asking the host about her wording, because it seems kind of weird saying that Republicans made the exception for grape, but we have already had these laws on the
Not an option.
books prior to.
Wait,
So
She's
Republicans
saying
I'm
that
made
asking
the
her
trigger
about her
Republicans.
laws.
wording, and you're trying to describe it. So can she answer? Just so
She
I
did.
can be
You didn't
clear.
What are you
understand
No,
it.
she didn't.
Republicans
She hasn't said a
made the
word.
trigger laws. What are
She
you talking about?
has.
Republicans
She
made the
hasn't.
trigger
She
laws.
said Arkansas. That was it. So I'm asking
No, she
her
didn't.
to
Yeah,
clarify.
Arkansas made a trigger law in 2019. Arkansas had a Republican-backed Senate and Congress in
This
2019.
girl.
They
Okay,
made
so
these trigger
just
Really
in
laws in
quick, really quick,
Arkansas and
2019
really quick.
nowhere
Time out,
else.
time out, time out, time
in
out. I
in
just
That's what I'm
multiple
trying to
red
say. Like,
states. What?
what are we talking
quickly,
about?
really quickly. I have a question for you, Mother Dragons. How is it
Yeah.
if the host did not explain her wording, then how do Jovan and I understand what she's talking about near the
I
end?
mean, I don't know how either of you understand anything, but I was asking her to clarify, and you all were answering for her.
Right, because you
So I
didn't
think she's more
understand
than
her
capable. She's a
clarification.
grown woman. Can she clarify her own statement? I just want to make sure I understand where she's coming from first.
Okay, go
First
ahead.
of all, Jovan and Watch My Legs are debaters, as are you. I am not a debater. I am here to just spread awareness to what's happening. So that's why I'm not debating.
Okay.
I'm not qualified to debate.
I'm just very lost what the disconnect is here.
She
I
doesn't
was
understand
asking her
the
to
wording.
clarify what she said. I'm just asking she made the background, so I'm trying to clarify what she meant by
Yes.
that, but she's not going to debate it.
Republicans are not
Mhm.
making an exception for grape in the state of Arkansas, and that is it. That's all I'm saying.
But it says Republicans made exceptions for grape, not an
Not
option.
an option.
So are you saying they
Not
didn't
an
make it?
option.
Not an
It's
option.
not an option.
Not an
Can we get
option
over
for them
can
to
we
make
get
an
over can we
exception.
get
where's
over
the
the
disconnect
wording
No,
and
in
move
this part?
I'm
forward?
seriously asking.
No, you're very
Because
not,
it's not
because you just
clear.
asked and
Let's
she just explained it. So
well
how are you still
let's
confused?
let's get over the wording and move forward.
Like literally, like
Can
she
we do
just
I mean,
that?
explained what it was
the
that she
wording
meant.
is it kind of does matter, because I just kind of wanted to know what it meant.
She just explained what it meant.
Well,
Okay, we got it.
we've all explained what you meant, but you want to continue on the same subject.
Because that's
It
obviously
makes
a subject.
no sense.
I mean, words matter. Okay, but go ahead.
Okay, continue.
Okay.
Jesus.
Okay.
The point makes total sense to me.
Okay, so why do we not make so we're saying that there's something wrong with making saying that a woman should not be able to get an abortion due to grape. So can we ground that argument, and why that still justifies the unaliving of another human life?
It depends on it. Well, it depends on your reasoning for not having an abortion. But most people's reasoning would be that abortions, you have some sort of parental or causal obligation to a fetus because you put it into a state of dependency. But if you are SA'd or graped, you did not place it into a state of dependency. It was placed upon you. Therefore, you should not be obligated to care for it.
Okay, so is the child not a victim themselves? So now we just unalive victims?
What?
Yeah, I was about to.
Yeah, I mean, if a
person
person,
So
okay,
this-
so the
okay, so then we
child,
have to have-
why should the
so then we have to have
unborn
a
fetus,
personhood
why should that
argument. So then we
unborn
have to have a
child
personhood
suffer? Why should their life be taken just by virtue of how it got there?
I noticed
It's
you
not the
switched
child's
from
fault.
saying suffering to life being taken because you probably recognize that a fetus prior to sentience or consciousness physically does not have the
Sentience
ability
doesn't
to
matter.
suffer.
Sentience
It
doesn't
does if
matter.
we're talking about
It
suffering.
does
If
if
No,
we're
it
we're
talking
talking about
doesn't.
suffering. It
suffering, it
100%
does.
No, it
does if we're
doesn't.
You
talking
can't
about
suffer if you
suffering.
don't have sentience or
Suffering
consciousness.
would be the loss of life. That is a suffering.
Do trees suffer when we cut
Trees
them
are
down?
inanimate objects, and they're not
No,
humans.
No,
they're
they're
not
living.
inanimate
You can't
objects. They're
compare a tree
organisms
to a
that grow.
human. You can't know an organism. Okay, but a tree is an inanimate object, and we cannot quantify.
A tree is not an inanimate
we cannot
object.
quantify. No, we cannot quantify whether or not it has feelings or not, because we don't give rights to trees. We give rights to humans.
Time out.
Trees do not have rights.
What do you think inanimate means?
An inanimate object would be a tree. I mean, it's not something that the tree doesn't have any rights to life.
Stop. What do you think inanimate means?
An object that does not move, an object that doesn't mean it. It's a tree. People cut down trees for many reasons. Okay,
no,
it's a tree does not have any rights. A human being has rights.
That's not what.
We don't give rights to trees, do we? We give rights to humans, right?
Not alive. Inanimate means not alive.
Yeah, it means not alive.
Sure. Okay. So, but we don't give rights to trees, right?
But just because we don't,
trees don't have the ability to suffer.
It doesn't matter.
If trees started talking tomorrow and going, "Don't cut me down, it hurts. Please, God, don't do this. I don't want to die."
We don't give rights to trees.
We would probably rethink our idea of trees having rights.
Literally, this.
We don't know. We wouldn't rethink that because, again, how would we legislate that into law? Now, trees all of a sudden. How would you ground that?
How did they legislate? Wait. Time out.
And what is it? What if the tree starts speaking Farsi or something? Like
this goes into law. This goes into law, right? How did they do that for Black people?
How did we do what for Black people?
Because Black people were considered property. We weren't considered humans. We weren't considered.
No, slaves were considered property. Slaves were considered property, and every person of color, every person on the planet, regardless of color, has been a slave at some point.
Okay, so how did we do this? And how did we do this for Black slaves in the United States?
How did we do? Because they were considered property, and so were the Irish slaves, and anybody that was considered property.
Servants. It's a completely different.
No, they were slaves.
But the issue was
they were here before we were.
They weren't property.
Yeah, but okay. So you guys gonna let me answer, or are you just gonna keep talking?
You're wrong.
Because it sounds like you two are a band or something. I get it. It's really cute. Circle jerk complete. So if you're gonna ask me a question, allow me to answer.
This is hilarious. You don't know what you're talking about. So how did they do it?
No, well, you're not here to debate. You're just here to
pivoting to Irish people.
I'm not pivoting. I'm talking about slaves. You asked me how Black people were not the only slaves.
We're talking about how they implemented laws.
It was considered
I'm specifically talking about Black people. So it doesn't.
Now
really
you're
matter.
talking about Black people. How did we go
because
from
Black people were
abortion
considered
to
property.
Black people?
We
were talking about abortion and whether or not the exception for
because we're having a personhood argument now. MOD, you brought up a personhood argument
because Black people are persons. Babies are not property; they are human beings.
You brought up suffering, and now you're pivoting. You're pivoting again.
So no, you're the one that's pivoting.
You're pivoting again.
I brought up suffering, and you automatically thought about race.
Wait, stop. Hold on. Everybody pause.
We were talking about humans.
How does
human beings, regardless of color,
suffer? How does a fetus suffer?
How would a fetus suffer? By ripping them from their home, which is in the womb.
Answer the question.
We know that a human being would suffer from death. Now science has only been able to quantify. We've only been able to quantify based off of the when a child is sentient, but sentience does not matter. We know that because in history we've had people who did not grow a brainstem or did not have a brain who still actually went and lived. Okay, so sentience does not matter. And then again, by that virtue, would we go into the hospital and then unalive every single person who was unconscious? No, we would not do that. What we would do is
people still have sentience, bro.
Everyone has okay, but do we believe in? So we know that the people have potential for sentience, correct?
You have no
and we
idea
know that only humans. We know that only humans and certain animals have sentience, correct?
Unconscious
people. So sentience does not matter. It doesn't matter.
Like all animals are sentient.
Like
some animals have no, because they have the potential for a higher rationale. Not all animals
higher
have
rationale doesn't make you sentient.
Yeah, that does not.
Yes, it does.
No, it
yes,
doesn't.
it does.
Wait, so
okay, then define sentience. Okay, so then let's define sentience.
Because
now you're running from the argument. I'm
I'm
asking
not.
you to
You're
justify
running.
the
This argument can
unaliving
run
of
from a
another
simple
human life,
question.
and now you're
You
talking
made
about
this.
sentience.
Fucking crying, bro.
Yo, this is crazy. You made this argument to run from a very simple question that
I'm
I
not running
asked
from
you.
anything.
And the
I
reason
asked
as
you
to
to
why I asked
justify
you
the
that question
unaliving
was
of
because you
another
made
human
another
life,
argument to
and
run
you're
from a
talking
question
about
Jovan asked
sentience.
you. That's
I'm asking you to
hilarious. And you
justify
use
why you
words that
said
you don't know
that
what
we
they
can
mean.
unalive another human life, and now you're talking about sentience when we know sentience does not matter.
What
And
state are you in?
wait,
You're in
you
Texas, right?
keep wait.
If
You
I'm
No, I'm
ever in
not in
Texas,
hold on,
Texas.
Sean. Hold on, Sean. Hold on, Sean. I
I
just
don't
need to
know. Why
lay
does
down.
everybody keep saying
I
I'm
need
fucking
to.
Texas? I'm not in
I
Texas, and
need
it
to lay
doesn't
down.
matter.
Hold on. I need to
it
lay down
does.
what's happening
It
here. I need
does.
to lay down clearly what's happening here.
Oh my
Originally, I
God.
said this is an issue because of causal obligation. You said causal obligation doesn't matter. What matters is
No, it
harm,
doesn't.
right? What matters is you causing this other creature suffering. Well, the only way
You're
that things
taking
can
another
suffer,
human life without just cause. So why should you be
taking a human life doesn't matter if it doesn't suffer.
So if a father unalives the child while in utero, he would go to jail for homicide.
You know why
We
you
recognize that
interrupted?
in law,
You
Not
and
know
we
why you
every
also
interrupted?
time.
recognize that
Not
if
every
a
time.
mother
There are
takes
literally
illicit
instances.
drugs while she's
There are
pregnant,
literally
we would
instances of-
understand that to be.
No, there are. This first of all, this is an appeal to.
Why am I
appeal
getting
to fucking.
reported? I am literally not doing anything. Why are
This.
What?
Oh shit! You got reported. Oh
Yo,
shit!
that's crazy.
She got
First of all,
reported
I
for.
don't know who reported her. I don't know why you guys reported her. We were having a conversation. But first of all, it's just an appeal to authority going, well, we can't do this because the law says this. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking
Yeah,
about
that's
morality.
legality.
And we're talking about, does this thing experience harm? Because if something doesn't experience harm, we kill it. Hence why we'll pull the plug on brain dead people. Hence why we'll cut down trees. Hence why we'll chop the grass every couple of weeks. Harm is what's important. So
She's
sure,
back.
if a
She's back.
fetus, she can come in. Nobody
She's
touched
back.
you.
Guys,
Okay,
please.
so
So, guys, please don't report anybody. Like, nobody, please. Like, stop that.
I got
Let's
a
not do that.
warning that says that I was going to be reported for harassment and bullying. And I have two people talking over me, so I'm trying to answer questions respectfully. I'm not trying to talk over anyone, but
Okay.
it's just both of you talking over me at the same time, and then now you have people trying to report me.
Were we
So
talking
if
over you when you talked over Jovan just now?
I
Or
wasn't talking over Joy, this literally both of
like
you
right,
laughing and
right
talking.
before you left?
And then
Like
you
right
asked
before
me
you
if
left,
I
you were
didn't
talking
leave.
over
I was
Jovan.
kicked. She kicked me out because it says host disconnected you.
No.
Okay.
I
All
didn't
right.
kick
You
you.
can
I
continue
wouldn't
with
kick
this
you.
victim
And then
mentality, or we can talk about
I'm
the
not a
I didn't.
victim, my
I
guy.
didn't
So
kick
stop
you.
it. Nobody. If I
Okay,
was a victim, I
stop
wouldn't come
talking
back
about
up
it.
here.
Cut
So
it
don't
out.
even
Cut it out
try
with the
it.
victim mentality.
Wait,
No
I'm
one
not
cares about
coming.
the
No,
victim
I'm not a
mentality.
victim. You can try to put
hold
that
on.
shit on somebody
Let's
else.
move
I'm not a
forward.
victim, my guy.
Stop.
I wouldn't have came back. So let's continue again.
I want to get to the delineation here, okay? Because this is the issue with the debate. We're in a delineation of morals. Is it morally okay to kill? Yes or no? And is it morally okay to kill these specific creatures? Yes or no? Now, your response is it's not okay to kill because they would suffer from killing. My question would be, how do they suffer
I didn't
from
say
killing?
that. No, that was not your question.
These are the
Is it
conversations
morally
that we're
reprehensible
having.
to kill someone if you're defending in the defense of someone else or yourself? Okay, it is okay to unalive someone as long as in the defense of yourself or someone else. While a unborn human fetus that has not done anything offensive to you, you do not have to defend yourself against an unborn fetus. That child has done nothing
So
to
now we
you.
have to.
Why?
Now we have
It
to
doesn't
have a
matter. Hold
conversation.
on. It does not matter
hold on.
how it got there. That human life has done nothing to offend you or do anything to your
I
body.
disagree.
Now,
Why?
again, we still have to be able to justify. Hold on. You asked me a question. Let me answer. So if we have to justify the unborn life being taken, okay, we do have due process laws in this country. We do not make laws on the federal level that takes away your life, liberty, or property without due process. So what offense have they committed that we should take their life? Okay, what offense have they committed to do that we take their life, and then now we legislate this into law, allowing for an unborn life to be taken?
Great. So to answer this, first of all, that's just an appeal to authority. We don't base we're talking about morality here. Is it morally right or wrong to do one A or B? And then we'll talk about whether the laws need to be changed to fit that specific morality.
Sure, that's fair.
We're not talking about what is, we're talking about what ought to be. So when we talk about
we're not actually talking about what ought to be, because we're actually talking about what is. And the topic was whether or not we make exceptions for grape. That's what we're talking about.
And we're
And we're
talking
talking
And we're
about
not
about
talking
whether
about
or
what
we
not
make
ought
those
to be.
exceptions.
You do that on,
Yes, we are. We're
listen,
talking
you want
about
to
why we
try to
make those
control the
exceptions.
narrative because
we're
your
talking
host is
about
gone. You
I
just
love how it's
changed it.
don't
No, because
interrupt
we're
we're
not
me.
not
talking about what ought
changing
to
I
be.
it.
We're
start
talking about what
talking, you
is.
just interrupt
We're
me. I love
not.
how it's don't interrupt me, guys. But then when I start talking, I get a sentence out, and you go, but no. We
Oh
are.
my God,
We're
stop
talking
being a
about.
victim.
We're
Stop being
talking
a
about.
victim.
I never
Don't be a
called you a
victim.
victim. I never called you a victim, Sean.
You did.
So I don't know what the.
You did.
I
I
did.
did
I
not.
called you a victim. Jovan never
There are
called you
Well,
a
two different
victim.
people here.
oh,
So
I
okay.
said, and I
again,
also
we're
didn't even call
talking.
you a victim because you're not a victim. I said you had a victim mentality.
No, I don't.
We're talking
I would
about
be
whether
Democrat if
grape
I had a victim
exceptions.
mentality.
We're
I'm not
talking
a
about
Democrat.
whether grape exceptions ought to be allowed, and if they ought to be allowed, Republicans are rolling them back, and that's a bad thing. If they are not
No,
ought to be allowed, then them rolling it back would be a good thing. But we have to come to the
no, actually, we're
delineation
not.
first.
Because the topic
Oh my
is
God!
whether
I
or
love
not
how
Can you
again.
please
Republicans
let
can
him
I
give
love how
finish?
nothing. They're already
again.
on it.
It's
We're
Can
so
you
talking
please
about
let
what
him
is,
finish?
not what ought
because
to
when you
be.
no, we're
Can you?
not. This is a morality question.
She just said that the law was on the books, my guy. So we're talking
Yes,
about what
and we're
is, not what ought
talking
to
about
be.
should the law be on the books or not.
Oh, are
That is an
we? I
ought
thought
to
it
be
was we were talking.
question.
Jesus
That is
Christ.
literally the
I'm
point of this
asking why.
entirety of this
Oh my
question. You're
God.
literally
Fucking
talking
A.
about like
Okay,
you're
so
literally
let's
talking
pivot.
about what
Let's
ought to
pivot
be
to the.
because you're
That's
talking
fine. I can
about
do
whether
both.
or not we
It's
That's
can
fine.
not a fucking pivot.
justify
You
like
asked us.
I can
ending
do
a
both.
Asked us.
pregnancy early is
You
justified.
wait. You asked us verbatim why grape exceptions should. Why we think grape exceptions should be allowed. Now that becomes an ought to be question. That
No, it doesn't.
literally
If
is
the law
that
is already on
yes,
the
it
Exactly.
books, it's not
is.
an ought to
If
be. I'm
you're
Exactly.
asking you to
asking us why
justify.
we think
I'm
something
asked to
should be
justify the
allowed,
law as
that's
it
an
is.
ought to be. If you're
Okay,
asking
fine.
why something should be allowed, that's an ought to be. You're literally saying, why ought this thing be allowed? And we're telling you why we think this thing ought to be
Okay, so
allowed.
go ahead. Well, we'll go down your road. That's fine. I can do both. Go ahead.
So it's just what I've been saying here. If we're talking about why killing is wrong, we need to come to an understanding of what harm is and what things can or cannot experience harm. And if a thing cannot experience harm, then there is no issue with killing it. Hence why we chop down trees, hence why we cut the grass, hence why we pull the plug on people who are brain dead, but not the plug on people who are in comas. Like we've already come to these delineations in society. So now we have to look at a feat.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
No, go ahead. You want to talk?
So the only thing that you described that would actually have caused it harm would be the person that is suffering, that is brain dead. That person has no potentiality to return back from the state of being. So then, therefore, it would delineate to family to allow for that person to go ahead and pass on peacefully, because otherwise they are suffering. So now your argument,
How is a
you destroyed your
brain-dead
own
person
argument.
They're not
Yeah,
suffering?
because
suffering.
How is a
you just
brain-dead person
because we're not
suffering? What are you talking about?
because they would have no chance of recovering. They would just
There is
literally
no
be laying
suffering.
there
There's no
wasting
one
away.
Yeah,
there. There's no
that's
one
not
there. The
suffering.
door's open,
That
but no
is
one's
that would
home.
be suffering. I
That's
mean, their
not
body would be
suffering.
wasting away.
That's there.
Okay,
Nothing
so
is. What is
suffering.
suffering? Wait, what is suffering? We need to come to an understanding here first.
Thank.
What is
Well,
suffering?
that would be. I mean,
I've
suffering
been
could be
trying to.
subjective. I mean, because you all
Oh my
think that
God.
in this country somehow Black people are suffering. So that
You
would be
fucking
totally
pivot. My neck
subjective.
hurts. My neck
The
hurts from how
fucking
I'm not
like every
pivoting.
all the
I mean,
time,
it
every
is. You
single
asked me.
time. Like why is it that whenever we ask y'all for definitions, y'all can never give us
I said it was
definitions?
subjective. I said
The
it was
That
completely
definition of
doesn't mean
suffering
subjective.
is not.
But
anything.
we
Wait,
That
know.
stop,
doesn't.
But
stop,
we
stop, stop, stop,
know.
stop, 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 stop. The
Oh my
definition of
God. Will
suffering
you
is
stop
not
trying to tell me to stop? Like,
No,
seriously,
because
if you're going to
you're
ask
just
a
saying
question, like, you're
incorrect
getting
stuff.
excited
The
for no
definition
reason.
of suffering, is
Why
not
are you so
subjective. But
upset?
how someone can suffer is subjective. But the definition of suffering, what suffering is not
It would be
subjective.
subjective in this case.
Oh my
What I'm
God.
saying is that now, if you unalive 11-week-old fetus while in utero, I would say that fetus would be suffering. Because if you do it now, the number one most common used method in abortion is the abortion pill. It's not even the surgical abortion. And even the FDA and any other doctor actually agrees that the safer method would actually be a surgical abortion, because what it also does to the mother is it causes the abortion pill also causes a lot of harm to the mother by the way that it's prescribed and by the fact that they've actually taken down the steps. This used to be a 3-step process, and now it's a 2-step process. A lot of these women aren't even monitored in the hospital anymore. They actually can just sit there in front of their doctor. They can actually just sit there on a telehealth call in front of their doctors and
Can we time out?
and
The
have
host
that
wants to
mailed
time
to
out.
them in the.
The host wants. Thank you.
I just want to answer. I just want to correct something here. In the past, I think it's the past 19 years, only 9 women have died from the abortion pill. 9. Way more have died from surgical abortion. So this idea that the abortion pill is not the safest method is batshit.
If we're talking about suffering, there is a court case right now in Texas out of the Amarillo division
you can't even define
against
suffering.
the abortion pill. So actually, I can. There was a woman that was testified by her doctor. She went to Planned Parenthood and was diagnosed to be 6 weeks pregnant. She actually took the abortion pill. She was not monitored by her physician. When she actually took that abortion pill, she actually suffered a loss. She suffered greatly. She was hemorrhaging and almost died. And then this woman also, when she actually passed the fetus, she passed a 30 to 36-week-old fetus. This is a dangerous practice.
What's the case?
If you look up the Amarillo Division of Texas, actually, if you look it up, it's still in litigation right now. It is the FDA. There's a couple of different doctors and organizations that are actually suing the FDA for mifepristone is the pill, the 2-step pill. They're actually trying to take away the first step, which actually cuts off the blood supply to the fetus, which effectively the fetus dies while in utero. Then the second pill actually causes the woman to for her to contract, and then she expels the fetus from her body. And the doctors are saying that this is unsafe for these women.
I just want to say that this is a pivot away from defining suffering so that we can actually have the arguments that we need to have.
Well, you wouldn't call that
this
suffering?
Is what it's been all day. This is what it's been all day.
Right. So if we cut off your blood supply, would you suffer?
What is suffering?
Would you
what
suffer?
Does suffering mean?
You would effectively suffocate.
What does suffering mean?
Your brain, the lack of oxygen would cause you suffering.
All you're doing is pivoting because what I just said was
pivoting.
that you
asked me
avoided
what suffering is. If we cut off your blood supply and cut off your oxygen support, which cause you to die, that is suffering.
I'll answer your question after you answer our questions, right? The questions that we've been asking you, which you haven't answered one of them.
I just defined suffering for you.
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't. You gave examples of suffering.
I just did. If you have your air supply cut off.
This is disingenuous. That's not the definition. That's not what suffering.
Wait. If I am brain dead, hold on. If I'm brain dead and I have my air supply cut off, am I suffering?
You would be, yes, you would suffer. You would die. I mean, your body would waste away.
Okay, how would it be suffering?
If we cut off your air supply, you would suffer. You would no longer, you would have no oxygen going to your brain.
Suffering?
You would suffer, yes.
What would constitute it as suffering?
Okay, so put it to you like this. A fetus is not brain dead. So that's a false.
I'm just gonna
the fetus is not brain dead.
This is blowing
up to a
my
certain
mind.
point.
So when you talk about,
it's not.
Just hold on.
So now we're saying up to a certain point. So now we're saying what would be your cutoff then?
For abortion?
Yeah. What's your cutoff?
I think after 22 or 24 weeks, you should have to have methods of abortions that would keep the fetus alive, such as hysterotomy abortions or induction abortions, because at that point the fetus can survive on its own.
So
we should give it. Those are what a hysterotomy abortion are most closely
right. So a C-section. Yes. So that would, of course, that wouldn't lead to any suffering. But if you disconnect that child from the body, if you disconnect it from the placenta, effectively what you're doing is you're cutting off its lifeline, its life supply. It cannot live on its own. So at that point, it would die.
That's not explaining what suffering is. When we talk about suffering, we're talking about placing a person.
So are you basically saying? Are you saying that there is no? So are you saying that they would not? There would not be any pain.
I'm trying to tell you what I'm saying. When we're
so you're saying okay. So can we prove that a fetus does not feel pain?
I'm literally trying.
So let Jovan. I think Jovan is about to answer all of this. If you let him finish.
We talk about suffering. We talk about not only does it undergo pain, are those pain receptors connecting, and is it aware of that pain? Is it experiencing that pain? Is it doing all of these other things? Now, first of all, we're arguing under your logic right now, not mine. Personally, I don't care if it suffers or not. That's that's a personhood argument.
You don't.
We're not there yet. We're talking about your logic, not mine. So when we talk about suffering, we talk about can it experience these things. Now, when we look at the human body, the pain receptors connection to the cerebral cortex, which is the way that your body experiences pain and can connect that pain to something, those don't start forming until earliest 20 weeks. That's the earliest. That is like
Can you prove that?
conservatively.
Can we
Can
you prove that?
There's mountains of literature on it.
Okay, so show me something where we have quantified that a fetus does not feel pain.
Quantify when it doesn't or when it does. Those are two different
When
questions.
It does not feel pain.
So what you can look at is the American College of Obstetricians and I can never say that word. Gynecologists, right? They have quantified, right, using peer-reviewed studies.
Let's look at a peer-reviewed study. So can we pull that up then? I'd love to see the source.
Yeah, sure. So you can look at reconsidering fetal pain. That's one of them. Now that one says that we can't definitively rule out fetal pain before 24 weeks, but when we consider the possibility of pain existing, that it doesn't work out priher to that. That one is in the DMJ.
So we can't rule out. We can't rule it out though. So we don't know.
Wait. It
also says.
Oh my God.
There's also a new study back in 2022. It says that new study suggests that preborns could experience pain and other stimuli as early as 12 weeks.
How about we stop interrupting and let him finish? How about that?
I just gave you another source.
Idea.
There is another source that says that.
It sounds like a good idea for you to stop interrupting like you cried about in the beginning and let him finish.
Well, we respectfully.
It sounds like a great idea for you to stop interrupting, and it sounds like a great idea.
I did not interrupt anything. He's looking up a source, and I'm just saying.
It sounds like a great idea for you to practice what you preach and stop interrupting him.
You just said that they can't actually prove
it. It sounds like a great idea. It sounds like a great idea for us to adhere to your victim mentality that you came in here with.
Why?
And stop interrupting Jovan.
It
sounds like a great idea for you to stop interrupting.
Again, we have another study
really, really
out of the
good
Lozier
idea.
Institute.
It sounds like a good idea.
Can feel pain at 12 weeks.
It sounds like a great idea. It sounds like a great idea for you to stop interrupting.
It sounds like a great idea for you to bring up a source rather than you just saying.
It sounds like a great idea. It sounds like a great idea.
It sounds like you should just go ahead and bring up a source then. I mean, seriously.
I have.
Stop interrupting.
You literally interrupted me.
So listen.
It sounds like a great idea. It sounds like a great idea for us to adhere
Why
to
don't
your
you just
victim
debate
mentality.
the topic
It sounds like a great idea for us
You're
to
literally
adhere
the
to
only
your
one with the
victim
victim mentality here.
It sounds like a great idea for us to adhere to your victim mentality.
So either bring up a source or not.
Stop interrupting Jovan the way that you told him to stop.
Is he going to bring up a source or not?
I literally was in the middle of giving you multiple, and then you cut me off.
So go ahead and bring up your source then. Go ahead. And then I'll bring up mine. Go ahead.
The fucking balls, bro. So
clearly lacking here.
Great. I'm so glad with the ad homs. So again, we can look at a lot of different. Do you want to go ahead and talk, Mother of Dragons? Because clearly that's all you.
No, go ahead and bring up your source. I mean, you're supposed to be showing it, right?
You obviously don't want him to. He's been trying.
How
is me talking stopping you from bringing up a source? Can't you just show the source?
Bro.
I'm assuming you're going to turn on your camera and show it.
There's a mute button. You should utilize it.
Shit, bro.
It's not even hard.
And what if I don't? And what if I don't?